Hey peeps, what's up? Munchie here, back with another video. And in this video, we're going to do our review of the Samsung Galaxy A54 5G. Now, do note, I bought this device with my own hard-earned money. This is not a collaboration video. Next up, the video is divided into chapters. We're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly about the Samsung Galaxy A54 5G. And of course, timestamps are in the description of the video. Next up, we are talking about the current pricing of the Samsung Galaxy A54, which is 450 US dollars. So we are going to do a review based on that price point. And then, of course, this is my own personal experience with the device. I'm not hating on any device, because when people see the ugly section and the bad section, they'll be like, hey, you are hating on Samsung. But I'm not hating, I'm just pointing out the facts which I experienced. And of course, you might tell me that, hey Manchi, Samsung is going to fix those issues down the line. But as a reviewer, I think I'm going to review the device based on its current state. I cannot review a device based on empty promises or promises which might not be fulfilled down the line. Let us start off with the good things about the Samsung Galaxy A54 5G. So right off the bat, you will notice that the design here is pretty similar or exactly the same as what you get on the Samsung Galaxy S23 series. So from a distance, you cannot actually tell whether the device which I am holding in my hand is the Samsung Galaxy A54 or is it the Samsung Galaxy S23 or the S23 Plus. Next up, the display. Of course, Samsung is the king when it comes to displays, and the display here on the Samsung Galaxy A54 is a 120Hz AMOLED panel with a resolution of 1080p, and it gets super bright outside. Of course, the maximum peak brightness here is 1000 nits. Important thing to note over here is that the display is flat, which means it is pretty simple and pretty easy to find a good tempered glass screen protector. Now, do note that this device here is running Exynos 1380, which does let down the display over here a little bit. More on that in the bad section. Then you also get IP67 rating, so any splashes or if you by any chance drop it in the pool, you should be good to go. Then the haptics here, of course, are super good, and trust me when I say that the haptics which you get here are above average. They are right below what you get on the Samsung Galaxy S23 series, but they are great at this price point. The speakers here are also pretty good. I never thought I'd feel like this. You do get expandable storage with micro SD support, which is something which is a rare thing these days. As for the battery, you have a 5000 milliamp hour battery, which will easily last you 1.5 to 2 days for your social media browsing, your YouTube videos. However, if you are gaming on the Samsung Galaxy A54 5G, then your usage will of course vary. Other than that, you also have NFC out of the box, which means you should be good to go with your contactless payments. Moving over to the cameras. So the main sensor and the wide angle and your front cameras are good enough when there is enough light. They are decent when the light gets a bit low, and again more on that in the bad section. The other good thing about the Samsung Galaxy A54 5G is the software support. So out of the box you do get Android 13 and One UI 5.1. Now the One UI which you are getting over here is the full version. You're not getting like a watered down version of One UI. You're getting the full version of One UI, which means you have your Bixby routines and all the other features present. And on top of that, Samsung is now best in class when it comes to software updates as well, because they're promising 4 years of Android updates or 4 Android version updates. This means that you will be getting an update up till Android 17 and 5 years of security updates for the Samsung Galaxy A54 A54 5G. And before I forget, you do have an in-display fingerprint sensor which is fast enough, not as fast as that on the Galaxy S23 series, but it is pretty fast and accurate. And along with that, you also have face unlock. Now do note that the face unlock here is not super secure, so I personally do recommend that you use either a PIN password or your fingerprint under the display for securing your Samsung Galaxy A54 5G. Moving over to the bad things about the Samsung Galaxy A54 5G. For starters, the bezels. The bezels here are super chunky, and me personally, I'm not a big fan of these bezels. Next up, the fact that the phone here itself is also boxy. So this is a thick phone, and the fact that your corners here, your edges here are not rounded, that makes it even a thicker phone to hold, and the in-hand feel is of course boxy and bulky. It would have been appreciated if Samsung had rounded off these corners and edges, but alas, they did not do that. Next up, with respect to the fingerprint scanner. Now, call me spoiled by the Samsung Galaxy S23, but the fingerprint scanner on the Samsung Galaxy A54 5G is not in an ergonomic position. So it's not at a position wherein your thumb rests naturally. You actually have to move your thumb down a little bit to access the fingerprint scanner on the Samsung Galaxy A54 5G, whereas on the Samsung Galaxy S23 it is in a perfect position wherein it is right below where your thumb would rest naturally, or your thumb would go the first time if you're holding your device in your hand. Then the Samsung Galaxy A54, it does not come with a charger inside the box. They do give you a type C to type C cable, but I think most people out there have a type A to type C charging block. So they should have included a type C to type C charging block on the Samsung Galaxy A54 5G. Then there is no wireless charging, no headphone jack, and no Samsung DeX support. Other than that, while we are talking about charging, do note that the charging speeds here are not super fast. So we tested, and from 1 to 50%, it was charged in 28 minutes. In 30 minutes, we were at 53%. In 60 minutes, we were at 90%. In 75 minutes, we were at 97%. And a full charge from 1 to 100 took us 82 minutes. Next up, the frame on the Samsung Galaxy A54 is plastic. The front and the back are Gorilla Glass, but the frame is plastic. So again, make sure you have a case so that you are protecting that plastic and increasing the longevity of your device. Now, the other thing is that the camera modules here protrude out a lot more when compared to the Samsung Galaxy S23, which means that the table wobble on the Samsung Galaxy A54 is super bad. If you are one of those people who type on your phone while it is on the table, then you will have to deal with that wobble. Now, coming over to the camera. The macro camera here, I'm not sure why Samsung has added that, because in my personal opinion, if you take a picture of the same object with the macro camera and with 2x zoom from the main camera, I am pretty sure you're going to choose the picture which you took from the main camera using 2x zoom. The details on the macro camera are absolutely horrendous in my humble opinion. The other major issue, or the other bad thing, is that as soon as the light goes down, the camera is not good enough. It is decent, but it is not good enough, which is why it is in the bad section, or the bad things about the Samsung Galaxy A54 5G. What about your OIS? So you do have optical image stabilization, but that will only work if you're recording in 1080p 30 fps. As soon as you jump over to 60 fps or 4K, OIS does not work, which again is a bummer in my humble opinion. They should have given you OIS at 1080p 60 fps and at 4K as well if possible. Now moving over to the ugly section for the Samsung Galaxy A54 5G review. The first ugly thing I would like to mention is the camera. Yes, when you're taking a picture, there is shutter lag. And to add to that, if you move your phone too early while the phone is still processing the picture, in your mind you're like, hey, it's processing, the picture has been taken. But if you move your phone while it is processing, the picture will come out blurry. The same thing can be said for moving objects. So if it is windy, or you have kids, or you have pets, and you want to take a picture of them, good luck with that, because 7 out of 10 times for me personally, the pictures came out blurry. So this phone is not for those of you who like taking pictures of moving objects like kids, or in a windy situation, or if you have pets. Next up, Exynos 1380. And yes, as soon as I hear the word Exynos, I say, hey, performance would be bad. And that is absolutely true with the Samsung Galaxy A54 5G as well. There is a lot of lag in the UI, and I'm not even going to say that I'm using apps like Twitter, or I'm using Google Chrome, which might not be optimized properly. I'm saying I'm going into the settings app, I'm going to the apps section, and herein, if I try to scroll through the list of applications, well, there's a lot of lag, there's a lot of jitteriness, and the display here doesn't seem like a 120 hertz display at all because of that performance letdown. It seems that it is a 60 hertz display, and again, I am going to blame Exynos over here because it is known it has a bad history, and that bad history is continuing with the Samsung Galaxy A54 5G. And of course, we did run our benchmarks as well. So we ran Geekbench, followed by 4 back-to-back Antutus, followed by a CPU throttle test. Now, the good thing over here is that the scores were consistent in all the 4 Antutu runs, and the phone did not overheat. But when we went over to the CPU throttle test, you might be happy to see that, hey, it throttled to only 80%, but the cores are not running at their maximum frequency. They have throttled down. So not a good phone for those of you who are into gaming. So who should buy the Samsung Galaxy A54 5G, or why should you buy the Samsung Galaxy A54 5G? Well, you should buy it if you like One UI. You want a big display with 120 Hz refresh rate, which again is being laid down by the Exynos 1380. Then if you want long-term software support, because Samsung is promising 4 Android updates and 5 years of security updates, those are the only reasons why I would recommend you to buy the Samsung Galaxy A54 5G. The cameras here are just mediocre in my humble opinion. They're good in bright daylight, but then again, the macro camera here is kind of useless, and then the camera quality does go down. The OIS is also kind of useless in my humble opinion, and again, the fact that if you are taking pictures of moving objects, there is a lot of blur in the picture. Those are some of the reasons why I cannot recommend the Samsung Galaxy A54 to you. Now, do note all of these to buy to not to buy points are based on the price point of 450 US dollars. If this very phone comes down to 300 US dollars, well, then yes, then you can go ahead and buy it despite of its shortcomings. But at 450 US dollars, this is a pretty overpriced device in my humble opinion. And there it is, peeps. That was our the good, the bad, and the ugly review of the Samsung Galaxy A54 5G.